George of the jungle, strong as he can be.
So can I get two properties for the price of one? Well, not really, but here's a couple things you need to know about duplexes and other types of more than one dwelling on a parcel. This is George Anderson. Thanks for coming into the creditjungle.com today. And, people are always interested, and we've talked about this in other videos, about buying a property where you have the potential to generate some income from an accessory dwelling unit, or maybe it's a duplex or something like that. And a lot of times people will go to a property and they'll see, well, look at this. I mean, here's two pieces together. Maybe we can just get one loan and buy both pieces. So it kind of depends on what the legal description is, and that's what we're going to be discussing here. So a twin home is technically, it's one structure. It almost looks like a condo from the outside, but there's not an HOA, there's not a homeowners association, there's no CC&Rs or codes, covenants, and restrictions on the property, but yet you have a house that basically has a party wall in between it, and typically when they're building these, you'll have a double 2x4 wall on each side, and they do that so that there's what's called a maintenance break or a fire break. And that will go actually all the way up through the roof, through the trusses in the roof. So technically, if you had an attic access in one side, you would go up. You cannot crawl over and get to the other side because that break in there is there as a fire break on there. So if you see a property like that, even though it's one parcel stuck together, the property line for that property actually runs right down that party wall that divides the two houses. So again, not a condo, not a townhome, it's a twin home, and if you buy one of the units, you are only securing your mortgage loan against just that one property. So not a lot of twin homes out there, but it's one of those things where people think they can get a 2-for-1 and you really can't. Where you can get a 2-for-1 situation like that is a legal conforming duplex. And we're going to discuss that into a different video where there's, illegal, conforming, legal, non-conforming. I think there's 4 variations between legal and conforming. And all of them have a little bit different treatment on the way that they're underwritten and the way that they're financed. But a legal conforming duplex is going to have separate meters for water, for electric, and it's also going to have one tax ID number for the whole property. So in other words, there would be 2 units on there, and if they're front, back, top, bottom, side by side, whatever the configuration is, but it's one structure and it's sitting on one tax ID number. The other thing about a duplex, where you can always know that it's a duplex and not an accessory dwelling unit, is that there's 2 furnaces for it. So again, you want to look for a couple of things there, because sometimes the legal descriptions or what you see on the multiple listing service, again, it says it's deemed reliable, but the buyer needs to verify. And so these are some of the things that you will find as you dig into it a little bit further. But on a duplex, you actually can count the rent from another property, or from the other half of it. And if it's an FHA loan, you can count it, and it varies a little bit based on the home ownership center that the property would lie within, and there's 4 home ownership centers for FHA across the country. But typically it's about 80%. So if the rent that the other unit could generate would be, say, $1,000 a month, that means you can count $800 a month of potential income from that unit to help you qualify to purchase it. Now, that's what I'm describing here is an attached, connected duplex, where you have basically both units under the same roof. There are a lot of cities now, and this is happening in Salt Lake and a lot of other areas across the country, because there's a housing shortage and it's tough to do the development and get all the infrastructure out there, water and sewer and all of those things. So they're allowing people to build a separate unit behind their house. Tiny home, accessory dwelling unit, whatever you want to call it. But if somebody has enough acreage and there's a zoning permissibility for it, they can go and put together a casita, a little mother-in-law apartment, whatever you want to call it. But there's actually another dwelling out there that is separate metered, and it's actually a separate structure. And if it's on the same piece of property, That would also be called a duplex, but it's a detached duplex. So it's a separate building back there. Normally the main house would be bigger, but this other piece back here, you could purchase that as one loan, one tax ID number. It's sitting on one parcel. And again, you could count the potential or the proposed rental income from that property in the back there. Or if you wanted to live in the little one and rent out the big one, you could also make it work that way too. So for a younger couple looking for an opportunity to do that, great idea on getting started with that. So that's a detached duplex or an attached or connected duplex. Those are the type of properties that you can purchase where you're buying one property and you're getting two dwellings and you can count the rental income. So hopefully that helps. Thanks for coming into thecreditjungle.com today. This is George Anderson. Remember, you can push button and get a mortgage professional. And I'd love to talk with you and answer any questions you might have to get the best available financing terms that are out there. Have a great day.